All right, everybody. Shalom and welcome. Yishai Fleischer here, broadcasting from Judea, the heartland of Israel and of the Bible. Today marks the first day of the Trump administration, and with it, some very important, very much awaited successes for Israel. And let's take a quick look at a short list here of the executive orders that were signed just on the first day and have a tremendous impact on Israel. And we are thankful to God and thankful to President Trump for them as well. The revocation of sanctions against Jews living in Judea and Samaria, people like myself, were the target of sanctions by, I wasn't myself a target, but people like myself were targeted by the Biden administration and were sanctioned. That has been repealed. Sanctions against the ICC have returned. You know, the ICC is the International Criminal Court. It's targeted Israel. And has called for the arrest of Prime Minister Netanyahu. America is now sanctioning the ICC. America is now suspending aid to organizations like UNRWA, which are covers for Hamas, teach jihadist ideology, and actually allow bases of terrorist operations to be formed in their offices against Israel. They're not going to be paid by America anymore. Jihadist supporters, pro-Hamas protesters in America will be deported or will be in a process of deportation, and the much-awaited arms supplies to Israel will be reinstated as opposed to how Biden had it. So he was blocking arms sales, and now they are returning. Great. So a lot of amazing successes, and we are thankful for it. And let's not take it for granted. The victory of Donald Trump is a complete reversal of the previous administration's anti-Israel stances and policies. At the same time, this administration, Steve Witkoff, pushed through a deal, a so-called deal, which caused Israel to, at least in the short term, capitulate to Hamas. Here is what Will Chamberlain wrote. Let's take a look at his words on Twitter, and I think that they're very instructive. He writes, "I understand why the Israelis are going through with this lopsided hostage deal, but they will need to enact a major policy change to account for the downsides." That's right. If you're going to release 30 serious criminals for every hostage you get back, you're obviously incentivizing the kidnapping of your civilians. The roots of October the 7th can be traced back to the Shalit deal, 2011, where Israel traded 1,000 murderous convicts, I add, for a single soldier. You're also making the de facto punishment for murder, attempted murder, quite trivial. You might think you are imposing a life sentence, but the real sentence is more like you will be in jail until your fellow terrorists manage to kidnap another Israeli civilian, and then you'll be let go. This means you're failing to give justice and closure to the families of the murdered and making it less scary for future terrorists to murder Israelis. And by the way, not just Israelis, Americans as well, or anybody else, because that's what they learn from this. So if Israel is going to do a deal like this, they need to start executing terrorists convicted of murder or attempted murder with a streamlined process. You ensure that justice is done, and you avoid the problem of having a pool of convicted murderers waiting around to be released until Hamas kidnaps some more innocent Israeli children. So that is a powerful and correct analysis of what is happening. And if you don't believe me, then take a look at how Hamas is really seeing this deal. Here's a few videos. Okay, so on the Temple Mount, they're celebrating. This is in Jerusalem. And here's a damning piece of Hamas propaganda. This is how they see it. This is how they want to present it. These are the hostages, the 3 girls that were released, surrounded by a crowd that's yelling Allahu Akbar. So if you doubt right now who's in control of Gaza and what the spirit is, there you have it. Hamas is still very much in Gaza, and Israel is pulling out, and maybe not fully, but in large part. The army is dismantling its gains in Gaza, and there are the two main corridors: the Philadelphia corridor and the Netzarim corridor. And parts of it are being dismantled. The army is pulling out. So that is a victory for Hamas. That is not the goals of the war, which was to destroy Hamas' ability to govern there and their military forces. You could see them. They're plainly in the streets. And Israel, in my opinion, should, of course, govern Gaza and actually rule it. But that is not what we're seeing. Now the spirit has changed in Gaza, because instead of seeing Hamas as the destroyer of Gaza, they see it as the liberator of Gaza, who has pushed back the Israeli forces. Here is what Gazan people are now saying, at least in front of the Hamas-type cameras. Take it out. Check it out.
شعورك وانت بتهتف لكتائب القسام.
فرحة.
نعم
والفخر كله.
كل الفخر هذه صفقة السعد. هدوا الدور وهدوا البيوت وقتلوا الأولاد ولا حاجة. هم علموا إسرائيل وعلموا أمريكا.
They have triumphed over Israel and America. They're fighting the whole world. So the spirit is now that, Hamas is victorious.
بيحاربوا العالم كله قاعدين، العالم كله بيحاربوه. وانتصرنا بإذن رب العالمين، وحنبنيها أجمل من الأول بإذن رب العالمين. بإذن ربنا. تحية للقتال.
So they're yelling in favor of the Qassam brigades of Hamas.
الناس بتقول لك كتائب القسام دمرت غزة. كتائب القسام فخر لغزة. احنا مع كتائب القسام قلبا وقالبا. لو كتائب القسام دمرت غزة كانوا هذول اهل غزة ما لقيتهم الشارع، كان شردوا. احنا قاعدين هلا حماية كتائب القسام، زي ما هم حاميننا وحامين عرضنا، احنا حامينهم بإذن رب العالمين. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
Okay, so you could see there, the spirit is when Israel is not victorious and Hamas is still there, they have the guns, then the people have to kowtow and bow to them, and they're going to say, you're the liberators, you're great, and everybody's going to say, Allahu Akbar, because you didn't defeat your enemies. What I'm about to show you is really unbelievable. Khanin Zouabi is a former, get this, Israeli Knesset member. She was a public servant. She was an elected official in Israel. She's identified with jihadism. She's going around the world saying two things. One, there's no difference between Hamas and the Gazan people. They're one and the same, right? When anybody else says that, people are like, no way. But she's like, yeah, the Gazan people, Hamas are the same. And also October 7th is legitimate. And when they entered Israel, the terrorists, they were legitimate in doing so because the whole land of Israel belongs to the so-called Palestinians. Here she is making that claim. Let's take a look.
Choose to resist, and it is not Hamas who resisting, it is the Palestinian people. And yes, you cannot differentiate between Hamas and the Palestinian people. You cannot differentiate between them. Those who entered in 7th of October, they didn't enter the Israeli borders, they entered their own land. They went to their own land. This is their land.
So I don't think a person like that should be an Israeli Knesset member, but that's just me, right? Like, I don't think a person who absolutely detests Israel justifies jihadism and Hamas, is pro-October 7th, and she's out there around the world. Finally, President Trump, whose Middle East envoy, Witkoff, was responsible for this bad deal. And again, remember what I said, first day of President Trump's second term has been amazing for Israel. Amazing. But the deal was a bad deal. But even here, asked about Gaza already in the White House, he seems to have second thoughts about the future, about who is going to govern Gaza. Let's take a look what President Trump says.
Mr. President, that you can keep the ceasefire in Gaza and conclude the three phases of this deal.
I'm not confident. That's not our war, it's their war, but I'm not confident, but I think they're very weakened on the other side.
I'm not confident that there's going to be a ceasefire, says President Trump. I'm not sure that it's really going to stick around. It very well may fail. I'm not confident it's not our war. Israel should fight that war. So you see a totally different tone change there. Maybe Israel has to continue to fight that war. That's very important.
Do you support the two-state solution?
Gaza, boy, I looked at a picture of Gaza. Gaza is is like a massive demolition site. That place it's really got to be rebuilt in a different way.
Rebuilt in a different way. Who's going to rebuild it in a different way? Only Israel. Only Israel can take responsibility for that piece of land. It's Jewish land. I got a lot of people writing to me, like, since when is Gaza Jewish? Oh my God, like, read the history books, you know? Take a look at the story of Gaza. Israel controlled Gaza many times in its history, and many times it was something that was fighting against Israel, and Israel had to fight against it. This time, in the state of Israel, the third Commonwealth, we have to control Gaza. Let's let President Trump finish his words about Gaza and about rebuilding it.
To help rebuilding Gaza?
My mind. You know, Gaza is interesting. It's a phenomenal location.
There's President Trump, the real estate man. He's looking at it like, hey, you know, it could really have a beautiful golf course and Trump Towers over Gaza. That could happen. I hear the subtext there.
The sea, best weather, you know, everything's good. It's like some beautiful things could be done with it, but it's very interesting. But some fantastic things could be done with Gaza.
How do you see the future in governance for Gaza?
Well, it depends. I can't imagine you could have, well, you certainly can't have the people that were there. Most of them are dead.
So you can't have basically, in other words, you can't have Hamas rule Gaza. The war isn't over, and it could be turned into something great, and governance should be reestablished. Who's going to establish that governance? Who's going to rebuild Gaza? It's going to be Israel. That's the only answer in the future. People may not see it now, but that's what's going to happen down the line. And Khanin Zouabi and all those terrorists, they got to go. Okay, they are not the future. They are jihadists, terrorists. They are repressive, and they have led to the destruction of Gaza, the militarization of Gaza, and it has no future for the people of Gaza or for Israel or for this region. It's time to turn that around. It's time to change. Let October 7th be a real change. The deal was a bad deal, but Trump's first day has been amazing. And his statement, even in the White House, gives me hope that there's going to be a different spirit that's going to rule this area. Israel's got to match that spirit. Israel's got to be courageous, brave, and creative and see a new future, not a so-called Palestinian Gaza, but a Jewish Israeli Gaza with people that love Israel. Arabs that are loyal to Israel, who want to live a decent life within Israel, will be part of it. But the jihad has got to go. And God is promising us that there's a better future if we are strong, if we are brave, if we hold on to our land. And that's what's respected around here. When you're courageous, when you're forthright, when you're clear. I like to say, keep it simple, sovereign. Be the sovereign, lay out the laws, and people will respect you. And that's really the currency of the Middle East. God bless you folks, wherever you are, and thank you for being with me. If you love our channel and you believe that we should go big and go home, then please support us. It's really easy. Fightforisrael.org, fightforisrael.org. You want to fight for Israel? I want to fight for Israel. We got a lot of creative things that we're fighting for Israel, innovative stuff that is on the scene now and is going to change the future of Israel. You can be part of it. Fightforisrael.org. Or another way is buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. And if you want to support the Jewish community of Hebron, where I work, and the tomb of the patriarchs and matriarchs, the mamas and the papas, it's easy to do it. Hebronfund.org. Get in there and learn more about it. You can also write me an email, yishai@yishaifleischer.com. And I'm sending you blessings from the land of blessings. Lots of love and lots of strength from this good land, God's land. God bless you wherever you are, and shalom.